In a sign that prosecutors apparently believe that Donald Trump did have criminal intent and violated the law when it comes to all the documents and that sort of thing, they're apparently pushing for a piercing of the legal defense that he's been using, which is effectively attorney-client privilege between Donald Trump and his lawyers. They've apparently sought approval from a federal judge to invoke what is known as the crime fraud exception, which allows them to work around attorney-client privilege when they have reason to believe that legal advice or legal services have been used in furthering a crime. So that's specifically what we know. And now we get into the area of speculation, trying to understand what they might mean by that, what sort of crime or fraud they're implying they have evidence of in requesting this. So here's a speculation for you. Among the questions that the Justice Department has been examining since last year is whether Mr. Trump or his associates obstructed justice in failing to comply with demands to return a trove of government material he took with him from the White House upon leaving office, including hundreds of documents with classified markings. Now, to a regular person, the fact that he had the documents and knew that he had the documents and was asked to turn them in and didn't seems obviously to be obstructing justice. But that's another one of the fun things where elites hypothesize about it. Is that what he was truly doing? I mean, I know literally that's what he's doing intentionally, repeatedly for months and months and months. That's what he's doing. But like, what about metaphysically? Anyway, one of his lawyers, Mr. Corcoran, recently appeared before a grand jury in federal district court in Washington and is believed to have asserted attorney-client privilege on behalf of Mr. Trump in refusing to answer certain questions related to his representation in the documents investigation. Now, we don't know the content of the questions that he refused to answer. We don't know at this point if that is specifically what led to this crime fraud exemption being brought up. We don't know if the Justice Department suspects misconduct by Mr. Corcoran, by other lawyers, by Trump, by both, by all, by hook, by crook. I don't know. There's a lot that we don't know, but this supposedly, according to legal analysts, is not the sort of move that you would make as just a random shot in the dark, or if you didn't believe that you had good evidence of a crime having been committed. So JR, what do you think?
This is the section of the show, I guess, where people just kind of roll around and get away with things. We talked about Matt Gaetz a minute ago, but this investigation going into everything that's happening with Trump and his classified information. I mean, I guess they'll try this workaround, but this is a playbook that we've heard from many times. Trump gives his playbook all the time, with his tax evasion to criminal investigation evasion to then he always talks about his attorney-client privilege. So yeah, it's the same playbook over and over and over again. He's a veteran in trying to avoid any kind of responsibility for the things that he's done throughout his life, not just politically. So this just goes along with that same playbook. And I don't know whether or not these things will work, but I guess the attempts to do so means something. But is there a fear that he's got something on, folks? I'm still trying to figure out where this I guess kowtowing to the biggest potential criminals in our political system comes from, folks. What are they afraid of? What's going on? Look, Matt Weiner, not Matt Weiner. What was his name? Hillary's, but Anthony Weiner went down hard, and no one really was concerned about any political power he had. Maybe because the backing of folks that were around him were like, "Yo, let him go." I don't know what kind of structure has to be around certain politicians and certain political figures for them to just survive this type of stuff, but. This is we're seeing the playbook play out right in front of us. I'm not sure if it's going to help much.
Yeah.
I'm pessimistic this morning. Sorry.
I know. Look, we're just coming off of discussing the Matt Gaetz thing, so we're super pessimistic about all of this. But this is interesting because they could be, again, we don't know for sure. They could be implying that this lawyer is assisting in the committing of a crime, which that would be interesting. I mean, in this particular case, going back to the beginnings of the document scandal, one of the things that we got so much enjoyment out of was the special master and the others asking the lawyers to assert in court the things that Donald Trump was saying publicly on Truth Social constantly about things being planted and blah, 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 all of his stuff. And they would go on Fox News and say it, and they would go on Truth Social and say it. He would lean out his window and yell it, but they would not say it in a court of law, with the obvious implication being that the lawyers know that it's not true and they don't want to face consequences as a result of their service of Donald Trump. So, would Corcoran risk legal consequences, losing his, ability to practice law? God knows what else. I don't know. I don't know anything particular about Corcoran that would imply that he'd be willing to do that. It is possible that he's not the target. It's possible that this is pressure intended to get more information from him. At this point, we have to speculate.
At this point, anytime there's pressure from these situations, it's a little bit of. This is my last bit of pessimism. It's a little bit of this, it's a hope that's given to folks that think maybe our judicial system will work its way for the most obvious crimes that people are committing, regardless of the kind of power that they hold. But we're seeing it in front of us. It's right in front of us. But
yeah,
I just don't see anything more happening for this. They can try, investigate and go around the attorney-client privilege and all that. But come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.